On Thursday, February 12, ABC General Hospital spoilers show Portia walking down the hospital hallway. Each step felt incredibly heavy, like she was carrying the burden of a future she couldn't grasp. Her fingers shook as she held the sealed envelope. Inside were results that could blow up lives, relationships, loyalties, everything she'd tried to keep together for years with all her careful lies. She had tried so hard to twist things, but the truth was finally ready to come out. She couldn't put off telling everyone who the baby's father was any longer. It was like a huge storm building right behind her, about to hit Port Charles and ruin so much more than just her life. Portia had given out tough news plenty of times at work, but this was different. This felt like a cold, twisty dread snaking up her back. She could practically see the looks on their faces when they heard the truth. She had broken Curtis's trust before, and it was still something on his mind. Isaiah, the guy who honestly thought he got what their relationship was all about. And Portia, she just kept hurting Trina, her own daughter, with all those secrets, when all she really wanted was to keep her safe. The closer she got to showing everyone the results, the more it hit her. This wasn't just a tough spot for her. It was the start of something really bad. Once the father's name was said, everything would just break apart. Everything we thought we knew would just fall apart. Things would fall apart between them with all the strain from what she did. And the truth coming out would ruin everything. Portia could feel everything closing in as she pictured Curtis's face. Then she thought about Isaiah's shock and Trina's devastation when she found out the story she knew was about to get a compassion. A whole lot worse. Portia knew there was no version of this revelation that ended cleanly. Someone would be destroyed. Someone would just leave. Someone would never forgive her. And she was scared way down deep that she was the one who would end up losing the most. The envelope felt hot against her palm, a sure sign that she was out of time. The truth was on its way, whether she liked it or not. Portia took a shaky breath. She knew she was about to make a huge mess in Port Charles, the kind of disaster that would keep going once it started. And no one, not even her, could put a stop to it. When Maxie popped back up in Port Charles, everyone just seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. You could just feel the familiar spark she brings. And it kicked off this wave of feelings that moved quicker than any gossip ever could. When he saw her, Spinelli's heart leaped. He caught his breath and everything else just faded away. All he could see was the woman who had made him who he was, his past, his growth, and his joy all wrapped up in her. He'd thought about coming home so many times, but nothing really prepared him for seeing Maxie standing there again. All alive and vibrant, just like she always was. Nathan, who was always so steady and loyal, felt a strong wave of emotion. It was like a new sense of family, of truly belonging. And a pull that brought all three of them back together after being apart for too long. When she came back, it wasn't just okay. It was like everyone started to mend from something they didn't even know was broken. Spinelli was practically glowing, talking a mile a minute, with a huge grin spread across his face. He was just so relieved to know Maxie was back home and all right. Like everything in the world had finally settled down into how it should be. Nathan was just so happy, and that settled everything down. All the crazy emotions swirled around, but his deep gratitude really made it all feel okay. Even the tough parts of his past seemed less sharp. So these two guys who'd loved her, each in their own way, one all flashy and bright, the other steadily loyal, ended up sharing this happiness together. It even caught them off guard. When Maxie came back, it wasn't just a simple getting together again. It was like everything that had fallen apart could finally start to heal, could be put back together. Or even turn into something totally different and fresh. When those three were together again, Port Charles seemed to glow, almost reawakened. Because of a woman who always brought change, excitement, and new possibilities. Coming home really changed things up. It wasn't just a party, it was life-changing. Brooklyn could see Gio pacing in the Quartermain living room, and it was obvious something big was bothering him. Before he even said a word, she knew exactly what was up. His feelings were practically buzzing in the air around him. Emma was really important to him, more than just a friend. She was the reason he smiled so brightly and why his voice always sounded so excited. Because of her, he seemed to grow up faster than anyone expected. With Emma getting ready to leave Port Charles to meet Robin and figure out the scary truth about what was going on. With Anna, Gio was really on the edge of heartbreak, and he just didn't know how he was going to cope. Brooklyn went up to him softly, giving him advice that she knew came not just from thinking things through, but from what she'd lived. She understood because she had also loved someone who lived in worlds way more complicated than anything she knew. She let him know that just because you love someone doesn't mean you always have to hold on tight. Sometimes, it means letting them go make their own choices, even if it really hurts you. Gio heard her words, and it put him in a tough spot. A part of him just wanted to go with Emma no matter what. But then the other part knew he should let her handle this mission by herself. Since that's what she felt she needed to do. He got it. He understood Emma's fear, her determination, and her need to shield Robin from hearing such terrible news over the phone. But the goodbye that was coming felt like a tight squeeze in his chest already. He was only just starting to get what she meant to him, really. Just beginning to dream about where things could go between them. She was leaving just like that in a hurry, with no idea when she'd be back again. Brooklyn saw the fight in his eyes, that ache for more time pushing up against what he knew he couldn't change. She told him that love put people through a lot, and sometimes the toughest part was figuring out how to let go of someone you really liked. Emma's life was full of problems Gio couldn't do anything about, like family stuff that was just too much for him to even think about taking on for her. Things just got way out of hand for both of them, and Gio felt like he was being torn between wanting a future and the pain of things just ending. Emma was getting ready to leave with her bags packed and plans all set. Gio then understood he was in a tough spot he hadn't seen coming. He didn't want to lose her. He just couldn't bring himself to let go of the only person who made poor Charles feel exciting and alive like nothing else ever did. But he also knew in his gut that if he made her stay, it would just wreck everything they had created as a team. So there was Gio just standing there. He was young, full of hope, but also really hurting. The clock was ticking, and he knew his heart was about to go through a goodbye that didn't feel like it was just for a little while. Nathan walked through Port Charles, a tight electric feeling buzzing just under his skin. With every step, it got sharper and heavier. Because the news Maxie is awake didn't just get to him, it exploded inside him. When he heard the news, his heart started racing, his breathing got all messed up, and all those old feelings he thought he'd tucked away deep inside came rushing back trying to get out. He knew he had to go find Lulu, had to tell her what was going on before things got totally out of hand. But deep down, he understood something important. He wasn't really rushing to her because things were clear. He ran because his life felt like it was breaking apart. And he thought Lulu was the only one who ought to hear how messed up he was before it ruined everything for them. Lulu opened the door before he could even knock, like she just knew something was up. The second she saw his face with those wide eyes kind of holding his breath and that soft look mixed with panic, she knew whatever he was about to say would flip their world upside down. She asked him to come in, but even before he said anything, the quiet hanging between them just got heavier. There was a truth there, and neither of them really wanted to deal with it. Nathan finally said her name, soft and hesitant, and then the words escaped him. The ones he had repeated silently all the way to her door, "Maxie is awake." Lulu froze, and it wasn't because she was scared of Maxie. No, her mind immediately went to Nathan, understanding right away what all of that meant for him. He didn't say Maxie's name like it was just any name. It was like he said it, but there was this old, powerful tremor just under the surface, a feeling that shouldn't have mattered to him anymore. But you could tell it really did. Nathan kept talking, going over what Spinelli had told him, how fast Maxie woke up, and how he felt this jolt inside him the second he heard it. Even when he was talking, he couldn't meet Lulu's gaze. It was like if he looked at her, he'd have to admit something that was always there. Just under the surface of the life they were building, a piece of his heart still hadn't really let go of Maxie. Lulu listened, trying to stay calm, even though each word from Nathan felt like a fresh cut. It slowly dawned on her that he wasn't just filling her in, he was falling apart. The longer she watched him struggle, the clearer it became that the news had reopened a wound Nathan believed was truly healed. When Maxie came back, it wasn't just a jolt to Nathan's feelings. It was like a huge earthquake, ready to shake up every relationship he'd made since that awful day. He thought she was gone for good. He kept saying all he wanted was to check on Maxie because he was worried, because he felt it was his responsibility, and because he cared. But Lulu could hear his voice shake. It gave away a deep desire he hadn't admitted, maybe even to himself until right then. She tried to calm herself down, really pushing herself to remember that Nathan picked her, that they had built their lives together, and that they had lots of dreams and promises they held dear. But all those reasons didn't change how he said Maxie's name, like it was a word resting right on the edge of his heart, just waiting for the chance to come out again. Nathan knew Lulu was mad. He could just feel it, and it made his stomach clench up, something awful. He told her not to worry, that just because Maxie was awake didn't mean anything was different between them. He made it clear he wasn't going anywhere. Even he could tell his assurances sounded hollow because the words he said weren't what he truly felt inside. Things just weren't the same. Something you can't undo. Lulu attempted a smile, attempting to conceal the growing panic within her, attempting to ignore the emotional chasm that was already widening. She just couldn't lie to herself, no matter how much she tried. The truth was right there, making it hard to breathe. She really wanted to grab him, hold on to him, keep him close. But deep down, she just knew that doing anything like that right then would only show how scared she actually was. Nathan mumbled an apology, barely audible, like he almost whispered it. It sounded broken, and you could tell he didn't quite grasp why he was even saying sorry. Maybe he felt bad for having feelings he couldn't help. Maybe he was saying sorry for the hurt Lulu was going to feel down the line. Maybe he was saying sorry because things fell apart with someone who was always there for him. Someone steady and comforting. That is, until his past showed up again and sat right next to him. For Lulu, it wasn't jealousy that brought the pain. It was more like, oh, I know exactly what that feels like. She knew that look in his eyes, that little hitch in his breath, and how his voice got soft whenever Maxie came up. She could tell he was at a crossroads, forced to decide on something he never saw coming. But underneath all that recognition, she felt this old, deep fear she hadn't really felt since Dante just left her. The fear that someone would leave her for a ghost from their past. Nathan left pretty soon after that. He said he needed to think, and Lulu just let him go. She figured trying to keep him then would be like trying to hold on to someone who was already slipping away. The door clicked shut and she pretty much collapsed on the couch, just shaking. It hit her, then whatever they had going, it was starting to fall apart. Not because of some big betrayal, but because of a feeling, a real truth that neither could seem to fix. Nathan was walking around feeling a bit off. It was like two different parts of his past were bumping into each other. The comfortable, a reliable life he had now with Lulu, and the one he always pictured with Maxie, which never really happened but still stuck around in his mind. Maxie was back awake and actually there. It wasn't simple at all. That wasn't just some old memory popping back up. That was a real gut punch, you know. It got right inside his chest and just wouldn't ease up. He tried to get a grip, but this chilling new idea was really starting to sink in. The next thing that happened was going to set the tone for AT, the rest of his life. The scary thing was he really didn't know where he was headed anymore. That sharp, all-consuming uncertainty became his new obsession, following him everywhere. Jordan and Curtis just sat there facing each other in that quiet Metro Court corner. The silence between them was super tense, like it could break any second, even with just a little breath. Neither of them really saw this coming, but deep down they both knew it was bound to happen. All those hidden feelings and wants they'd kept bottled up for months, that slow, steady pull drawing them back together. Even when they fought against it, it was all leading to this moment. A moment of reckoning. When Jordan finally spoke, her voice was steady, but Curtis picked up on a vulnerability he hadn't heard in ages. She said that sometimes life pulls the rug out from under you, making you face things you thought were long gone. Curtis had been telling himself for ages that he was totally over it, that his heart was all good. But then as he finally admitted that he had no clue where he truly fit in anymore, or what that whole future he put together with Portia was even supposed to be for, he felt this weird knot form deep down inside him. They hadn't spoken like that in ages. The truth was raw and it hurt. Jordan said she grew a lot, changed, and found parts of herself again that she had given up for what she had to do, her responsibilities, and just to get by. She said she wanted her life to have real meaning, not just for her but with someone who got her, pushed her to be better, and truly saw all of her. And Curtis, as he listened, realized the woman right there wasn't the Jordan he'd loved and then lost. She was stronger now, surer of herself, and more open. That change was compelling. It drew him to her with the same powerful feeling that used to really scare him. As they talked more, the real story came out, and it was clear to both of them they were on the verge of something fresh and delicate but also strong. Something that took guts to truly admit. And then it hit Portia. Her footing with Curtis wasn't steady anymore. It was just waiting to expire. All her lies, all the time she pulled strings, all the secrets she kept, they just broke things beyond fixing. So once Curtis really saw Jordan for who he was, those little cracks and things just totally broke apart. Jordan wasn't after anything at all. No forgiveness, no promises, and definitely no going back to how things used to be between them. She just wanted to know the honest truth about what was coming next. Curtis finally confessed after all this time that he felt lost. It wasn't that he didn't love Portia. It was just that their marriage was built on so many secrets. And those secrets kept messing up every chance they had to fix things. Jordan, looking really gentle, said that sometimes when things end, it's not a failure at all. Instead, it's a turning point that people need to go through to truly become themselves. That truth really hit Curtis. He suddenly saw his future splitting into two different paths. One path was full of anger, sadness, and the constant burden of Portia's disloyalty. The other path, though, led to a woman who had always been fair and tough with him, even when they weren't getting along. He knew what he had to do next. They kept talking, and you could feel this quiet current of energy around them. Almost like the world knew something big was happening. Jordan's growth, how clear-headed she'd become, and her readiness to face the past and really move on. Curtis used to really admire those things about her. Big as life, he just couldn't deny it anymore. His love for Portia was going to expire, and soon. He knew that once he finally said what needed to be said, once he stopped pretending, Port Charles would really feel it. Because there was a whole emotional storm brewing inside him. Curtis and Portia's love story was never going to end quietly. It was really going to light a fuse on everything new, relationships, old wounds, and even some buried rivalries, starting a whole chain reaction that neither Curtis nor Jordan would be able to fully control. When they got up from the table, no one said anything, but they both felt it deeply. One thing was clear: the future had already changed, and what was about to happen in Port Charles was just the start.